There are individuals who lurk in the shadows of society, committing horrific acts without an ounce of remorse. Welcome to the chilling world where, unfortunately, such darkness exists, a world of remorseless killers. These are not mere figments of horror films or spine-chilling novels. No, they are real. They are among us, lurking in the shadows, hiding behind the facade of normality. The psychological profile of these remorseless killers is a terrifying paradox of the human mind. They embody a chilling absence of empathy, a complete disregard for the sanctity of life, and an unsettling delight in the suffering of others. They are individuals who carry out their heinous acts with cold-blooded precision, treating their victims as mere objects to satisfy their twisted desires. Their lack of remorse, their inability to feel guilt, makes them all the more frightening. These remorseless killers leave a trail of unimaginable pain and suffering in their wake. Their acts not only end lives but also devastate families, leaving scars that may never heal. The impact of their crimes reverberates through society, shaking our faith in humanity and forcing us to confront the existence of true evil. Yet it's important that we do not turn a blind eye to this dark side of humanity. Understanding these remorseless killers and the havoc they wreak can empower us to prevent such horrors in the future. It's a grim task, but a necessary one. The stories of their victims need to be told, their lives remembered, and their dignity restored. Now, we delve into the lives of some of the most notorious killers who showed no remorse for their heinous acts. We will pull back the curtain on their twisted minds, their chilling crimes, and the profound impact they had on their victims and society at large. Prepare yourselves, for this journey is not for the faint of heart. In the quiet city of Wichita, Kansas, terror came in the form of Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Strangler. For 3 decades, this seemingly ordinary family man led a sinister double life, tormenting the community with a string of brutal murders. His moniker, BTK, stood for Bind, Torture, Kill, a chilling testament to his modus operandi. Rader's ability to blend into society while carrying out such heinous acts is perhaps what makes him so terrifying. He held a steady job, was active in his church, and even served as a Boy Scout leader. Yet, beneath this facade of normalcy, he harbored a twisted obsession with violence. What's truly horrifying, however, is Rader's total lack of remorse. During his trial, he recounted the gruesome details of his crimes with an unsettling satisfaction, showing no empathy for his victims or their grieving families. His chilling lack of remorse underlines the dark depths of his depravity. From the sun-kissed streets of Southern California emerged a nightmarish figure, Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. His reign of terror painted a stark contrast to the sunny paradise as he committed a series of violent crimes that left the state in fear. Ramirez was not just a run-of-the-mill criminal. His acts were brutal, and his motives chillingly unique. He claimed his actions were a tribute to Satan, a belief that seemed to fuel his terrifying spree. But the horror didn't end with his capture. During his trial, Ramirez delivered a chilling monologue, expressing his lack of understanding of societal norms and his belief in being beyond good and evil. He showed no remorse, no guilt. Instead, he reveled in his gruesome deeds, seemingly oblivious to the pain and suffering he had inflicted upon his victims and their families. Ramirez's monstrous acts and his lack of remorse shook the world, leaving a lasting scar on society. In Bradford, England, Stephen Griffiths, dubbed the Crossbow Cannibal, brought a reign of terror that still haunts the city. This man's chilling story is a stark reminder of the darkest depths to which humanity can sink. Griffiths was not just a killer. He was a man who reveled in his heinous deeds. His crimes were not committed in the shadows, hidden from view. No, Griffiths chose to celebrate his murders in the most public manner possible, on CCTV footage. A chilling spectacle of inhumanity, he carried out a series of murders with a chilling nonchalance. His victims were women, vulnerable and unsuspecting, their lives tragically cut short by a man who seemed to derive a perverse pleasure from their demise. His actions were not those of a man burdened by guilt or regret. Instead, his behavior served as a chilling testament to his complete lack of remorse. This was a man who, in his twisted worldview, saw his actions not as crimes, but as a source of celebration. His lack of remorse was not just evident in his actions, but also in his complete disregard for the lives he had taken. Griffiths' lack of remorse for his brutal acts showed a chilling disregard for human life. John Wayne Gacy, a contractor and part-time clown, used his jovial facade to hide a dark, murderous reality. Beneath the painted smile of this seemingly harmless entertainer lurked a malevolent predator who exploited his lovable persona to lure unsuspecting victims into a deadly trap. Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown, was a master manipulator, his clown persona, Pogo, providing the perfect cover for his sinister intentions. He would charm young boys, luring them into his home with promises of work, or simply through the innocent allure of a friendly clown. Once inside, however, the laughter would swiftly die, replaced by a nightmare of unimaginable horror. His crimes were brutal, chilling in their calculated cruelty. 33 young lives snuffed out, their dreams and futures buried beneath the floorboards of Gacy's suburban home. Yet, it was not just the sheer number of his victims that shocked and appalled, but his complete lack of remorse for his monstrous actions. Upon his arrest, Gacy confessed to his crimes, detailing each horrific act with a cold, detached precision that sent chills down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. His confession was not marked by guilt or regret, but rather a perverse sense of pride, a chilling testament to his utter lack of empathy. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Gacy's tale was his behavior during his trial. He didn't hang his head in shame or express any form of regret. Instead, he joked about his crimes, his laughter echoing through the courtroom, a chilling reminder of the jovial clown he once portrayed. His jokes were not born of nervousness or fear, but rather a disturbing delight in his own infamy. Gacy's remorseless attitude towards his horrific acts sent shivers down the spines of all who encountered his story. His laughter, once a source of joy and amusement, became a haunting symbol of his monstrous deeds, a cruel mockery of the lives he stole, and a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind the most innocent of facades. Carl Panzram, considered one of the most sadistic serial killers, lived a life of violence and hatred. This man's name might not ring as many bells as others in the annals of crime, but the sheer brutality of his acts puts him in a league of his own. Born into a life of hardship, Panzram's story is a chilling testament to the depths of darkness a human soul can plunge. From a young age, he was a constant presence in the criminal justice system, but it was his later years that truly marked him as a monster. Panzram committed numerous heinous crimes, including murder and rape. Yet, what sets him apart from other criminals was his complete lack of remorse. He didn't just commit these acts, he reveled in them, finding a perverse pleasure in the pain he inflicted upon others. This lack of remorse wasn't limited to the acts themselves. Panzram's attitude towards his victims and their families was one of utter disdain and contempt. He showed no sympathy, no regret, and certainly no remorse. To him, his victims were nothing more than objects of his violent desires. But his defiance didn't end with his victims. Even when he was caught and sentenced to death, Panzram met his fate with a chillingly defiant attitude. His last words, reportedly, were a curse at humanity and a wish for more violence and destruction. The story of Carl Panzram is more than just a tale of a criminal. It is a study of a man devoid of empathy, a man whose life was a testament to the darkest aspects of human nature. His lack of remorse wasn't just a personality trait, it was a defining characteristic, a fundamental part of who he was. Panzram's life and his chilling lack of remorse provide a disturbing glimpse into the mind of a remorseless killer. His story is a stark reminder of the darkness that lies in the corners of human potential, a darkness that we must strive to understand, if only to better guard against it. The stories of these remorseless killers serve as a chilling reminder of the dark corners of the human mind. We've journeyed through the sinister tales of 6 notorious murderers, each one distinguished by their terrifying lack of remorse. From Dennis Rader, the BTK strangler who took pleasure in recounting his heinous acts, to Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker who believed himself to be beyond good and evil. Stephen Griffiths, the crossbow cannibal, reveled in his crimes, while John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer, made light of his monstrous deeds. Joseph Paul Franklin's racially motivated killings were carried out with a sense of twisted mission, and Carl Panzram's sadistic acts were committed with defiant anger. These stories, as grim as they are, underline the devastating impact of these crimes, not just on their victims, but on families, communities, and society as a whole. They expose the horrifying potential of the human mind when stripped of empathy and remorse. While these stories are disturbing, they are necessary to understand as they shed light on the darkest aspects of humanity, reminding us of the importance of empathy, remorse, and justice in society.